when you've got a dream, where do you start off from? And when you've got a dream, but you're coming off from being an underdog, and you're coming in from failing, and you're coming in from inheriting something that was functioning, but you fail it, or you fail on it, and you lose it when you've got a family and everything else. The guest that I'm going to be speaking to is a very young, dynamic person who is just pressurized from where he comes from to make a change. He's got a 10-year plan. Within his 10-year plan, he's halfway the mark. And within those halfway mark, he's already achieved quite a bit. It is I, your boy, TJ. Let's check out who is our guest today. Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? It is another day. Yes, another day we will bring in another successful friend to M5. So welcome to M5 Successful Friends. That day that you're seeing, he is here today because we're going to be talking about him. And his name is Hlogi. Hlogi, good morning. How's it going? Welcome to M5 Successful Friends.
Hi, good to join the program that I've been following for some time, and I'm excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome stuff. Right, who is Hlogi? Where's Hlogi from? And I mean, what do you do, man?
Hlogi is a Kasi boy from Tembisa in the east of Ekurhuleni, but a very smart young guy,
Right.
Who's very ambitious, positive, creative. My background is actually in entrepreneurship. I used to run a business in the heart of Tembisa called Caprivi, a club kind of business, inherited it from my dad. So that's where I kind of got the entrepreneurial spirit of going there. But now my passion has actually now moved into property investment, property sales, property buying. And that is where I'm actually exercising the energy and the vibe and the journey of succeeding in this game.
You're a very lucky guy, Hlogi. For many South Africans, younger guys like in my age group and your age group, they don't have fathers, man. And you are lucky to have inherited something from your father. You should take that strong and run with it. I mean, your dad is giving you a stepping stone and just make it successful, man. So well done on that. But how did the entrepreneur start off? I mean, you speak of your dad coming in here. He was running something and then you come in to inherit that. When you're talking about that, your relationship with your father, for you to be able to inherit that, because a lot of people, they might not even, it's the opportunity is there, but because they don't have that relationship with their father, that never happens. But for you, it sounds like you embraced it very well. Just walk us through that process, man, growing up in Tembisa, your father doing this. Just give us a snippet of that business. How was it like?
Well, you know what? I think a lot of people don't know that every family has an entrepreneurial spirit in it. And one of the most motivating things that we tend to overlook is that each and every family needs income. But in our side, it started as a survivalist because this was the man who was working at Woolworths and got early retirement, and obviously he had to come back and feed his family. So when we grew up, I come from a small family of 4, dad being gone, we are now 3, that he had to survive. And that's how the entrepreneur spirit was being introduced. I remember he was selling candles. I remember we had to go around with his small taxi in a business, which he was not a taxi driver, but he would risk being a taxi person just to make it a point that we have money to go to school. So to make his family survive, the entrepreneurial spirit became from there. Me making it the point that I packed the pods, making it a point that I packed the store. It moved into the liquor store industry where I was the first cashier to be able to be there every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, after school, after Friday. I needed to be there to make it a point that I am the cashier. When the bike was offloading, I was the person who was making the point that I was packing the stock and making the point that everything, even going to as far as when we went to the bank managers, meeting with the lawyers, the important thing was in the conversation, there was some form of mentorship. But each and every family, for them to survive in the family, they needed to understand what is the problem, what are we trying to solve, and one who stands up mentors the kids. And the kids, that's why we had the former things of spaza shops. We used to have tuck shops. Those tuck shops were not there for people just to show that they can actually have money, but they were feeding and maintaining the household income. So for me, that mentoring and coaching came in a form of survival, but it actually brushed off. It made me realize that I'm in the business where I needed to understand that to make money, I needed to take care of my family.
That's amazing, man. Someone asked me the other day that, TJ, when did you start knowing that you're an entrepreneur? And I said to them, I think I died when I started working, but long before that, I've always been an entrepreneur because for me, the journey of entrepreneurship is very much similar to yours. When I was born, my mom was long gone and my dad was long gone. But my grandmother took me in. And then later on, my foster parents took me in. But my grandmother had market, so she used to sell some vegetables, at a vegetable market. It's not like at the fruit and veg that we know today, It's literally at a market, and the fruits are there, and people come in and buy, 5 rand, 2 rand, that kind of thing. And that's how I grew up. I grew up interacting with people like that, and my grandmother I'll be the safekeeper. You speak of a cashier for you, right?
That's financial.
We didn't know what a cashier was. Your grandmother would just say, hold on to that money. And at the end of the day, she would say, bring me back my money. And I remember at some point, I had like some money on one pocket and another money in another pocket. And I was so scared that the other money that was left in the pocket, I think my granny is going to think that I stole the money from her. So after a couple of days, I went back and I'm like, Ma, the money was left in another pocket, and it didn't shock her. It didn't do anything for her. But I was the one who was just scared. I think I was in my teens at that time. But that's where my entrepreneur, if I really look at it, that's it started off. And I think the idea of go to school, go to work, and it killed it for me. And somewhere along the line, it then resonated again. And now I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's really great to connect with, people that are like you, who also come from backgrounds, these ones. It's good that. So Hlogi, you're in Tembisa. They normally say that, in our townships, there's nothing that's coming out of good of those things. And there you are, you're an entrepreneur. You also teach other people in property. You're doing your own business. I just want to kind of like take you from the point of why leave your entrepreneur of selling stuff in real estate? Because that's a different industry altogether, real estate.
Well, for me, let me be honest with you, I've been blessed with an opportunity to have run that business for the past 12 years, and to a point whereby I had to move on, all right? Because I took over at the young age of 27, and I had the best 12 years of running that entertainment business, and it was a multi-dimensional type of a business. And there were certain challenges that came through it, because obviously, remember, this is a family business and the vision changes as you grow on. And ultimately, we had to close down, and we needed to kind of come up with a strategy, because remember, a business has a cycle. It starts with the intro, there's a growth model, there's a boom, there's a maturity, and then ultimately there's a decline. And as competitors come in, you also diversify, but sometimes you find yourself being in the leading front of every business, or sometimes you find yourself being in the lagging side of the business where you're trying to catch up. But the passion was no longer there, because it was predominantly more of an alcohol business and more of an entertainment business. And the funny thing about those kind of businesses, they are so seasonal. You know, they're so seasonal. Your 3 months you make your money, your 3 months you save it, your 3 months it's a loss, the 3 months you break it out. So diversification needed to come in, you know, for me to be able to look beyond. Plus, remember the vision that one has for himself to say, where are you going from here? You know, so my passion was always in real estate, in the sense that you look into the township, you know, we have 35-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds, people that are living in the 2-room backyards of their own homes. There's no flats that are being established. There's no sectional titles that are being established. We have so much freehold space to be able to come up with developmental plans. So are you going to entertain people that are not going to grow, or are you going to find another self and challenge yourself to another thing? So that's why I joined the company in the real estate called Hazemark that taught me something about sales, because I had a construction business in the early 2007, 2006, but it went down in 2008. And that's what I wanted to talk about, that, you know, we always talk about the success, the journey, but we actually overlook the failures that are so important in your developmental process. Because when you fall, you realize that your term has ended, or your business's acumen is no longer sharp enough to go further, and you need to start up again and refine yourself. And that is the thing that made me realize that when I lost in 2008, I still had that grab that I lost $500,000 in 2008 in the construction industry. I need to come back. And I joined a company that has been teaching me about sales, understanding the dynamics, the trends, the buying patterns, buyer's market, seller's market. And my vision still remains in developmental. So I left the township market because products, yes, are good, but remember, you go where your passion lies: commercial property, residential property, and impact living.
Okay, a lot of people always ask me the question, TJ, how do you lose 5 million? And at first it used to annoy me.
Yeah.
You know, when people would ask me that question, I'm like, but it happens. You know, and
Yes.
I'm not the first one. And
No, it does.
And there you are, you saying that, you know, you lost 500,000 in 2007, 2008.
Business as well.
And
Yes.
right. I'm going to ask you the same question, man, and I hope it's not going to annoy you. But how did you lose 500,000?
Listen, not only 500,000, also the business that I inherited from the dad closed down. So, with the first one, the first part question that you're speaking about, it was a construction side, it was a development side in the areas of Allendale. When we came in with an experience of building, not the experience of selling. So it's very important to know that when you move into an area, sometimes you've got the money, but you don't have the knowledge of developing in certain areas. So the guy said, here are the stands, we put in the money. But now the thing is this, my expertise was in building and I didn't know anything about sales. We had contracts, but those contracts were financially connected. And a year went by, we didn't sell anything. Because we're a construction company. What did we know about real estate?
Sure.
We just knew how to build. We didn't know how to stay in the corner, do property 24 marketing, do private property marketing, to go after your so-called agencies. We didn't know anything about that. And by then, when I woke up, I had labor, I had a truck, I lost everything, the money that was invested in it. I went back into retail. Retail, the same thing. Ran the business quite well, became successful, but then the bottom starts coming in. Diversified into festivals. Festivals, they pay you money. It comes in year 1. Year 2, year 3, the festival goes wrong. You disinvested money on the left, and at the same time, now it starts affecting your cash flow in your core business. So those experiences are telling you. So now I've learned that it is not about having money, it is about having the right information, the right mentorship, the right support system to be able to know when you need to move for growth. But remember, without those lessons of failure, without those lessons of falling down, you will won't be able to know the bottom side. And you need to know all sides as a business person, your bottom side, your side, you know, your left side, your right side, and your top part, so that you become a complete businessman and a fully fledged business. And so failing is good, but it's when you fail forward that is most importantly great.
So Hlogi, you say failing is good, but I think a lot of people are actually scared of failing. So they come in and they're like, can you lose money in property? And I'm like, yes, you can.
Yes.
And the other question that they ask is, have you ever lost money? I'm like, yes, I have lost money. And I'm like, but you can see on their faces that they're not wanting to lose anything. And on some occasions, here is the thing about failing. I always give an example of saying that, when a child is growing up, right, and they're starting to be a toddler and they start crawling, that child crawls and falls, I don't know how many times, to some point where it even hurts them, but there is no one single time that we've ever said to a child, oh no, stop crawling because you're going to fall. We don't. We let them loose, and when we let them loose, they continue with life, and then they start walking, and we start celebrating. And why is that not theory still taken into the same thing about businesses? Your first business, you're not going to be wow. You're learning how to crawl. That's what you're learning to do. And so definitely you're on the money when you say by falling you're learning, right? And it's only those that fall many a times that if they keep on coming up, that then become successful. That's my view. However, I'm also of the view that when you are failing in business, I think it's okay to fail. But you just need to make sure that your level of falling versus your level of success, there's more success than failing, because then you might become bankrupt over that. So I really like that. So well done on that and on forgery ahead. But the point that I want to bring to you, Hlogi, sure. The problem, the point I want to bring you to, Hlogi, is that you're talking about being a solid business person. A lot of people, they've asked me, TJ, you've got a partner of that, partner of that, partner of that. I'm like, yeah, because I don't know everything. And there you are, you've got a very good example. You are very strong in one area, which is construction, but you don't know how to sell. So your product is not going to sell it. Just walk me through, Hlogi, in your mind, with now what you have learned in terms of partnerships or in terms of getting the right skills to connect with so that you become a whole person. How do you actually know that you are lacking something? How do you know that?
Okay. You're touching on a very important point, and that is teamwork. And we can talk about teamwork, move it to collaboration. But my best teaching that my father said was teamwork says together everybody achieves more. And that is the most important thing, to understand that you can never succeed in isolation. You need to work within a certain form of a circle. So let's talk about the important thing about in the team. It's one thing to have a team, but it's very important to have a team with the right skills. Because you can form circles, and
Right.
we've had long circles where you're part of a team, but it's a friends team. People who don't know anything. Yes, you like to hang out with them, but they don't bring the necessary skills to be able to advance you to the next step of success. So the most important thing that you need to identify in the team is that you need to have a circle first that you need to identify, and that has the right skills, all right? And it has the right education. It has the right training, people that can lead you. You need to identify yourself. Where are you in that team? All right. Are you the leader? Are you the middle person, or are you the follower? And that's the most important thing. All right. And I also say,
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know that, Hlogi? How do you know that you're a leader? How do you know you're a follower?
Okay, I'm going to bring it in the case here. For example,
and on that, Hlogi, as well, is it more important to be a follower or a leader, or it doesn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter. I always say those who succeed are people that are willing to unlearn and be teachable. When I went into a real estate company, all right, the first thing that I needed to do, in as much as I had a business, I had the expertise, I knew sales, but I was coming in an environment that I've never worked in. So the first thing I needed to shut up and be teachable in a new environment. And the spirit of being teachable makes it a point that you put much more information, all right? And then when you're teachable, it's easy for you to identify other leaders because you are still a follower. Remember, when you start, you're always last. Any industry that you're going to get in, when you start, you're always last. So you need to have an attitude of saying, listen, here, I don't know anything. So I made it a point that I became quiet. And the other thing, people will always ask me, where do you come from? I didn't want them to tell them that I ran my own business. I would tell them that, no, listen, I was working for this company. Humility came in because I knew that had I brought in this thing of saying, hey, I once ran a business, hey, I once did this, then the thing is people were going to see my ego. But then I introduced my humility to say, what are the questions? When can I join you? And then remember, people who are superior in knowledge, when you show them that you want to learn from them, that's when they want to brag and they want to show you, I've been here, I've made so much and all this stuff. That was when I was taking the information. And you also have to put yourself a time period. When you learn, tell yourself that I'm giving myself a year. Remember, everything has a 90-day cycle. Probation is 3 months, right? Okay, all right. So you know that when you start, you have a 3 months. So you don't know anything. So I gave myself 3 months to 6 months to a year to say, here I'm not going to worry about how I failed. I'm not going to worry about how I succeeded. I'm just going to worry about mastering the knowledge. My second part, reading. In as much as it's important to be part of a circle, I'm hitting a point where I found my team lacking. I went behind the scenes to get the books and read, make it a point that I become knowledgeable in that area. I read as many books into the property. I learned the selling tricks, how to deal with no-nos. Remember, I was in the liquor business. I was in the entertainment business. So rejection was never there. Every customer was happy to come to my joint. When I go and sell a house and the person comes and tells me, oh, this house is lacking this and that, I couldn't deal with rejection. I had to learn to deal with rejection. And that was an industry that taught me how to deal with rejection. Most of the time, I was so sure. In my business, you are always sure. The business that I came in, I was so sure. In this business, it's never a sale until it's registered. So you can imagine when the person signed an offer, I thought I'd made a sale, but I didn't understand that it had to go through steps. And ultimately, there was a rejection. And when there was a rejection, it calmed me down. So going back to the people is that you are taught by leaders who are now calmer, more experienced, better trained, wanting to give you information because they can see that you're teachable. And then all of them could participate as a team to be able to succeed. So that's how it came out.
Amazing. I like the fact that you're talking to the component of understanding a process when you're engaging in it, so that you can manage your expectations. Because if you might have high expectations, for instance, exactly what you just said now, from a selling perspective. And I just want to look at it from a point of being an investor. People go through property, but some people, they actually don't know what they don't know. And they go in to invest in a project. So because they haven't looked at the process they haven't taken through the process of understanding what happens behind the scene for them to register and start receiving rent. By the time they buy the property, it may be January, but rent is potentially coming in July.
Okay.
Because of the processes that need to happen in between. Now, people get frustrated with that now. And I sit on the side and I'm like, but the property hasn't registered.
Yeah.
There is a process that needs to be followed.
Thank you.
And people get frustrated with that. And I am glad that you're bringing that up, because if you understand the processes, you can manage your expectations.
Oh, definitely.
And a woman a woman gets pregnant for 9 months, none of us expects the baby to be born in 6 months. We don't put pressure on her to say, hey, 6 months the child should come. We don't, because we understand the process of 9 months, you know. So I just want to come in there, Hlogi. So where you are today, yes, you've run through this business, and right now you are in real estate. Are you in real estate full time, or you still kind of like juggling here and there because, you know, because of what's, or maybe because what's putting food on the table? What do you do in real estate now?
Oh, I've never found something as joyful, as challenging as real estate. All right. I'm in real estate full time.
Right.
Okay. I'm a full-time sales agent. My construction company is still active. And I've got a vision that I'm just going to unbundle right now. So remember, I went back and I said in 2008, I lost
Right.
about $500,000. So when I went in, I said, where did I go wrong in 2008? And I said, you were a construction company. You didn't understand anything about sales. So now, make it a point that the next coming 3 years, your goal is to work hard to be an expert in sales so that you recoup what you lost in 2008. So that was the first goal. Become a sales agent, understand, and become an expertise in that environment. So that was the thing. So step one, understand sales. Okay, because with sales, you understand the dynamics, you understand the trends, you understand the challenges, you understand what is it that when you become a developer, who are you going to give? They need to understand. So that was the thing. So that has been my goal. My second goal was, with the money that I will actually raise from the sales process without stopping it, I will then reinvest it into the construction business and then come up with a vision of developing the very same units, the very same flats, the very same apartments that I have a vision about that should be in the township. Okay, so my goal is going from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, and 5 to 10 years. So I'm still in my 1 to 3 type of an environment where I'm focused on sales, right? Though I want to jump into the 4th or 5th year, but I needed to understand that I cannot just jump out of it. Okay, so that's the situation that I'm actually now at. So I'm still in sales full time. I'm busy with my logbook. I'm writing my PDE exam this year. Next year, I'm qualifying as a principal because I want to leave as a sales expert. I don't want to leave just as an agent, because agency is about focusing on commission and what you're getting in. No, I want to make it a point that I have my sales division. So I'm building my sales division. After building my sales division, I'm moving to my construction and development division so that they can actually coexist. So my plan has started in 2020. I started in 2018, 2019 in the sales. So it's a 10-year vision from 2020 to 2030. I'm actually on that route. So I'm still in that environment, very much excited. But believe me, I've done well in the past 3 years, and I can only do better, I believe.
So, Hlogi, the reason why I ask this is that I understood that part, and I understood the journey that you've been on, and we could look back and say, look, you've done A, B, C, D. And I think for a lot of people, we are living today and we have no goal. We don't have a plan on how we are going to be there. And you have said 10 years. And for some people are like, 10 years, it's a long time. But you have said 10 years, this is what's going to happen. And you're going through those steps. Yes, some things might not happen the way you want. And yes, there's some great great surprise that will come within the way as well. You know, you were thinking maybe you're going to be selling houses for 500,000. All of a sudden, you meet a house for 5 million, right? So your commission is now much bigger. Now, the question I want to ask of you there, Hlogi, is now that you're on this journey, it is clearly defined in your head, right? And you're moving towards that step, and you can almost smell it because you're almost halfway mark. being a principal, it's a big thing, right? In the real estate, you can own your own brand. You can own your own division. You can be your own person who can drive sales and things like that. And I almost want to have that conversation with you to say, the construction company that you've got with the sales team here, it's almost very easy to go into developments where you can develop and sell. But I understand that that's not really what you're wanting here. You're wanting to build something bigger. What is it that you want to build and why you want to build it?
Well, let's just be spot on. We understand where we come from. You can never have a vision without understanding where you come from. And being a classy boy,
Right.
having friends, relatives, and families that are there, you understand the dynamics and the living conditions of those people. So for me, from a vision of the construction, is that families are cramped. We have a missing middle. People are not affording. And the developments that we are selling currently are not for our people. These are the developments that are in the Midrand, Centurion, your Kyalami, and that's not where the major problem is. The major problem is in our backyards, where we come from. So for me, your 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, but with a price sensitivity of about 500,000, I know it's 2021, you're looking at about 500,000 to 600,000 or 350,000 to about 600,000. That's what we want to build, So my view is, hence I said, I'm using the sales part to be able to go there, but it is about lifting. Think about it. Sunnyside, all right, was once a simple town. Sandton was once a simple town. Sun Hill was once a simple town. Why are we not turning our township into high-profile names? And it takes leadership. We can only turn Tembisa, Fostoras, Mamelodi, Soweto, Atchishville, Kabani into the top living townships in Africa, in the world. Yes, they are called slums, because they've been identified as dumping place where the poverty is in. But it takes our vision, the ones you and I who have had the experience of being exposed, to understand, to sell apartments in Sandton, to sell apartments in Four Ways, to sell. We need to bring that standard back into our township and give our people better living conditions, because we can't compete with the Baldwins. We don't have that money. We don't have that backing. So if we don't have those connections, it means then we need to use the journey of sales to raise money, then become developmental in our thinking, and then create legacies for our community as well as our kids, as we own those flats, as we own those apartments, as we own those residentials. Is there a township estate? There's no township estates. There's no estate called the Rato.
I haven't seen one.
There hasn't been seen one, you understand? But yet we are in the Brooklands estate, we are in the Centurion estates, we are in those things. Yes, it's nice and good, but who says our people in those backyards, they don't need the security? They also need the security that is lived. So what is seen as luxury, we need to take that luxury and bring it back. And that's basically the vision that I had. It's still 2021. But I'm telling you, in 2030, that is my vision that I want to see. Let's have a Tabang estate. Let's have a Jade's, you know what I mean? A Ronell's estate, for my colored beings, let's have those. It's what we need to put in our head. And so sales will put us there, but we will succeed.
It's a big journey. I like it. I'm sold to it. I think you're leaving me with our guests as well. You're provoking the mind.
Yes.
In terms of, so I'm anti government should do this for us. We should go and look for the government funding for this and that. I am anti that. And I'm like, how can we find solutions amongst ourselves to create this, right? And if government can help us along the way, that's great. But I think a lot of my connections and people that I see are always chasing around, no, government should do this. We should, and there you are I didn't hear you speaking about a grant. I didn't hear you speak about we need to go and look for funding from the government. You are saying learn the skill. When you learn the skill, it might take a little bit of time. But when you learn the skill, find other people that you can connect with within those skills. Build your team so that your team is strong, and then attack on your goal that you are wanting. And your goal is quite big. If we're just talking about Tembisa alone, Tembisa is quite big. That's where you come from. I mean, we haven't touched on any of the other townships. And this is a bigger goal that you got. But I'm glad that we've had this conversation because, Hlogi, you are not the only person who is on this drive. Matimba, he was on here not far long ago. He has the same passion as well about townships. And some of you who are watching, you should be able to see this video of Matimba. And I remember also one of my boys called Lebo Heng. This is also one of his passions, you know, to bring, I think he's already started doing it. I'm going to go through to one of his sites soon. And he's already started bringing in the lifestyle of the suburban into the township, you know. And that's what you are talking about. Why can we not have swimming pools, complexes with a swimming pool in the township? That's what you're asking, right? Why can we not have a clubhouse in the township? That's what you're asking for.
That's it, definitely. And the thing is this, yeah. And the thing about it is that because we concur, that's why we are sent to lead. But because we are so rushing, hence I'm saying to you that I can work for KW, I can work for IDA, I can work for PEM Golden, but that's your selfish ambition. That's your comms. But where are you taking your comm in the future strategy? Because you're just gonna hop around and have a title of an agent. And right now is that there's so much opportunities because we forget one thing. There's the developmental areas that we see, your Fourways, your Sandton, your Cape Town, they'll still reach a peak where there won't be any developmental space. Where are they going to come? They will have to come where the masses are. You understand? They will have to come and buy. You've seen it. You've seen Weinberg being bought, you know, Batlu being bought, you know, along the highways. Go where there's activity. And I'm saying we need to champion that as individuals. And I can only share that as in the journey. So far, I'm enjoying the selling. Yes, it's hard. We came from COVID, and COVID showed us that, listen, things are changing. So I'm saying it's a new decade. That's my attitude. My attitude is saying COVID gave us, we restarted like a phone, you know, we restarted. Everybody has had a challenge, has had something that they needed to accommodate. They need to rescale. We needed to adjust ourselves. So in my restart button, this is my vision.
Amazing stuff, Hlogi. It's been great hanging out with you. I really like the journey that you're on. I like what you're trying to do. I like the fact that it's not just a dream, but you have already put in processes of how you want to get there, and you are halfway through the mark. So thanks a lot, and good luck onto your journey. Any last comments on your side?
I just want to say thank you for this great opportunity, and I want to say to everyone who's got a vision is that it's okay not to be okay in these difficult times, but know one thing, that God has a great plan for us and He wants us to go out there and chase it. Let's think big, let's chase big thoughts, let's hang around people who inspire us. Let's make it a point that we learn from the challenges. Everything happens for a reason. Let me just leave it there. Remember, there's a lesson in every situation. Everything happens for a reason. Learn from it. Thank you.
Boom, that was Hlogi Makau, and thanks again for being with us. Cheers. We'll watch you.
Cheers.
Thank you again for watching us. We'll see you on the next video.